Yeah, Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first. A deep drop by Rodaboff for the end zone. Interception. Here comes Albany bringing it out. It's Maurice Leggett in the open field, and he has a pick six. Touchdown, Albany.
On the draw, this is Bryson Alene. And Alene weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
More verticals. Oh, we had a guy open.
And the turnover scooped up. Jalen McLean set all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Mauler's defense.
And you want to be a wide receiver, you're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder. But watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
In this episode, we're joined by the head coach of the Albany Firebirds, Mr. Damon Ware. Damon Ware has led multiple championship teams, and it's clear that winning means everything to him. What does winning mean to you?
It's the only thing. Ultimately, like I tell my players, if we don't have fun doing this, it's not worth doing. I won't do anything in my life that I don't have fun. But I also tell them this. How do you spell fun? And it's W-I-N.
All right, I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Damon Ware of the Albany Firebirds. Coach Ware, how are you doing this morning?
Great. It's a sunny day, and it's about to get cold here in New York, so I'm enjoying this 75-degree day, so it should be a good day.
There you go. It's actually about to get cold here. We got a storm rolling in as well. So I got to ask, obviously, everybody wants to know about the 2023 season with the Empire. It was chaotic, to say the least, coming, from the outside looking in, but I wanted to get your perspective on returning to Albany after the season you had in 2023. In 2024, we see you return as the head coach. Was there any apprehension about returning?
Absolutely not. When you put 3 years of your life and give it everything you got, it just becomes special. And so leaving New York was heart-wrenching, obviously, in the way that everything kind of unfolded. And so going down to Florida, you would think you'd enjoy leaving New York and going to Orlando and being part of the, all the attractions and everything, but it just wasn't right. And so, like I said, we went through the season and took some of the guys down there, and we finished out the season. But home was always New York, and as some of the offers started coming in the off season, I pushed everything back, and I was, like I said, I probably a little bit crazy to do so. We lost in the semifinal game in Orlando. I literally packed my stuff that night when I got back from the game. I got on the road first thing the next morning and was back in Albany the next day. And so I really had no idea at that point in time if we were going to really be back. We were working hard at it. I wanted to be a part of that process, and it all worked itself out. And so there was no place I really wanted to be other than Albany. And so I'm just blessed that it all worked itself out.
Gotcha. So all my pokes and prods about possibly returning to Colorado, that was never a realistic possibility?
I always get people that ask those questions. And again, I was approached, but nothing really materialized. And honestly, to go with expansion teams, it's a complicated thing. I've been in this business long enough that, you'd have to be a really, really good expansion team with really, really great ownership. I probably wouldn't take it unless it was, there had to be some real details put in place for me to even accept an expansion job. So I came back with the people I know and trust, and it all worked itself out. And just the rebrand in general, it's just been amazing. And our town, just the love of the Firebirds name, it has been absolutely amazing. I am so glad to be part of the rebrand and just the history, and it's just been a great thing. And just to see all these different people coming and telling me their Firebird stories, and it's been a really great thing. So I'm super glad to be back.
Absolutely. I mean, Albany's got a long, rich history in arena football, so it's amazing to see that they got their team back. But I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, how important was it to get football back in Albany?
Got to understand just the history of Albany football. It's a city of champions, and so I know there's a handful of jobs out there that if they offer you a job, you probably don't turn it down. And so Albany was one of those places when I first came here. It's just one of those jobs that comes along where it's like, I'll leave everything else, and this, I know this is the place to go. And so when I originally came in 21, I just had that feeling, and it was just funny. Just my family was like, just the way you're talking about it just seems a little different. And so I was just, like I said, the family doesn't know all the history of these teams, but it was just, everybody was just, hey, this looks like the place that looks like you're going to be happy. And so going there, like I said, especially coming off of COVID, you go through a pandemic and you realize just how much you miss the stuff that you got. And so, that line, you don't know what you got until it's gone, is so true. And so sitting at home with the pandemic, I had a wonderful time with the family and trying new sports, and got into extreme mountain biking and all these things that I would have never done without being through a pandemic. But I missed football so bad. And so coming back, you just put everything you got into it. And so that just led to being a part of the community, just embracing a blue collar culture. And it just, one thing led to another, and it's home. And so, I'm here full time now. I love this place. I love the people. I love our fans. I love our ownership. I mean, it is truly a family thing. We're doing some special things out here. And so, like I said, I'm just glad to be the one leading this rebrand back into 2024.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, what is it about Albany that continues to bring you back year after year? Despite the crazy situation you went through last season.
Since 21 and winning the championship, of course, I get job offers everywhere else. And it's just crazy that I just always turn them down. There's just something about here. It's everything to run. This is a blue collar town. I'm a hardworking person. Nothing in my life has came easy. I've outworked everybody. And that's the kind of town that we have. It's a hardworking town. And so being around hardworking people, being around people that again, got to get up every day and work hard for everything they got, you embraced it. And so the expectations are huge. And for me, I'm my biggest critic. But there's teams out there, and not to hurt anybody's feelings, that you open up training camp and you say all the right things. Yeah, we want to go undefeated. We want to win a championship. And that without 1,000 things happening right for you, you're not winning it. But in Albany, it is an expectation like, sleeping, drinking, and breathing. That is the expectation. Our crowd really wants to see a champion every year, and they'll let you have it if you're not, living up to expectations. So I love that kind of expectation. And so that kind of pressure, that gets me to get up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning and get in the office. That gets me to leave at 7 o'clock at night every night. It's that kind of pressure. I absolutely love it. And so this town is just, it's got everything you want. It's a town of champions. And we've built something that people want to be a part of. And I think that's the most special part, is when the recruiting opens up for us and we get thousands of emails a day, it goes to show you just that you built something special. And so just in our recruiting this season, if you just look at, I've never gone out and hit it this hard in recruiting. And I just know we want our town to feel that championship again. 2019, closing the AFL down as champions, opening up AFL in 2024. We want to be champions for our town. Obviously, a lot has to go right, and we have to do a great job to get that to happen. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Actually, the city of Albany has just lost one championship since that 2019 season. So definitely an expectation that I think continues on to this season, given that you guys are technically the defending AFL champions. So, does that add any extra added pressure for you as a coach, or is it just business as usual in Albany?
And we'll take the 2023 season and scrap it. It's not, I've tried to explain this to many people. The way the 2023 season went, you can't really hold that against us. it was just an abnormal thing that will never happen in another 100 years. It's like the pandemic. There's nothing that can compare to what went down in 23. It'll probably never happen again. And so for me, I honestly am like, I'm putting 2023 behind. To me, it didn't really happen. And so, and not to take anything away from anyone else, but think about when the Patriots were at their heyday, and in the middle of the NFL season, all the other teams got to pick all their players and take them to their teams. It's just a crazy thing. It's just something that it's almost unreal, and it's a frustrating thing for me. Is basically everyone got to poach all the players from our team and go and try to win ball games. And when does that happen in sports? It just doesn't. And so we're just going to say 2023 didn't happen. So to us, and again, it's obviously, yes, AFL, we're still defending champions, but still to us, we're, again, we were on a 3-game streak in our organization. To me, this is the 4th. And, I've told my players and coaches, you know what, we're going to pretend 2023 didn't happen. All the pressure's on us to do what we have to do. And so it's business as usual for us as far as coaches, our organization, but player-wise, got to understand the players that we bring in. It's hard to play here because we bring in the absolute best talent. Our camp is as hard as it gets. And so think of being a kid, you want to play, you got to come in and compete with the best of the best. And so it takes a special person to come in and do that. And so I'm super excited about the young men that we've got, but there's a lot of pressure on them, way more than there is on me. It's business as usual for me, but for the players, you got to live up to some lofty expectations.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a couple of those guys that you got back. Darius Prince, I mean, basically the guy that is best known from the Albany Empire over the past couple of seasons, gets to return with the Firebirds. How excited are you to get Prince back with Albany?
I mean, Prince was my first recruit here in 21. And so from breaking down his film, there's just something special about his film. And so when he was in Philly, here's a guy that was kind of the 3rd or 4th option that was just working hard and getting his yards. And, again, just did a great job. And so for me, it was finding a guy, obviously, you got to find an OS that you can build your offense around. And so I saw it in him just from our film. He was my first recruit and just been such a hard worker. I mean, he is an impressive ball player. He's a guy that's going to go out and attack a football better than anybody else out there in the game right now. And so just this, the things that we did are just special. And so obviously in 21, winning the offensive MVP, it's hard for any non-quarterback to win those awards. And so at the beginning of the season, when we talked about, hoping our quarterback could get the MVP and he could get the offensive MVP, he was like, there's no way. And it was the coolest thing when I knew that award was here. It came in a few days before it was announced. And of course I knew it. I couldn't hold it in. I was like, I called him in, hey, come to the office, shut the door. And it was like, don't tell anybody I'm telling you this, but you're going to win the offensive MVP. And it was just a moment that, again, that kind of his pinnacle is now he's on a team that we want to build the team around. And so that's huge. And so not only did we go out and win the offensive MVP, we come back, we really changed the whole football team, changed a lot of pieces. What does he do? Come out and win the league MVP over quarterbacks. It's unheard of. Now, 2023, even though it really didn't happen to me, and I never understood the NAL site where if you change teams, your stats die from the team before. It makes no sense. So if you actually add up Darius's stats, he led the league in yardage, and he was tied for the lead for the person that won, the offensive MVP. And so for him to not even get an all NAL award, you got to think of the offensive MVP, nothing. He's got a chip in his shoulder. I've got a chip on my shoulder. Him and I are going to put together some great game plans and do some things with him and move him all over the field. We're going to have fun with him. We're going to get him back to his dominant position in the game. And so I'm super excited. We've built a great relationship over the last couple of years, but we're going to have a lot of fun in 2024.
I have no doubt, and I feel like he might have a little bit of an extra chip on his shoulder because he was on the losing side of the 2019 Arena Bowl, the last AFL championship. So definitely we'll be excited to see how he plays this season. Obviously, you spoke about it a little bit before. Mike Quarta and the ownership group that's now with the Firebirds, or the Empire ownership from before. How important was it for you to have that prior knowledge and experience with them as an ownership group to join the Firebirds?
I mean, that definitely plays a part of it. And as a coach, I mean, you're only as good as your ownership group. You could be the best coach in the world and be on a team where your ownership's not dialed into the team. And again, it's tough to win that way. And so the one thing I knew about Mike was that he would put everything he had into being a winner. And so you go from that. We bring in Andy Gelcher, one of the owners of Mohawk Chevrolet. We bring in Richie. We bring in just more guys, local business owners that have a great following. Now you start building that dream team of owners. And so that is the most special part, because I trust these guys as businessmen. They trust me as a coach. And so it's just great synergy in the office. And so, but yes, ownership to me is the most important part. I wouldn't go to a team unless I really trust the ownership.
Makes perfect sense. And we've seen several teams be derailed by poor ownership. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. So I got to ask, obviously there's a lot of hesitation, skepticism, whatever you want to call it, around the AFL right now. Did you have any hesitation about returning to the AFL?
I mean, I'll be honest, I had some skepticism. I mean, who wouldn't? And so just like going to an expansion team, going to a new league there's challenges. And so will everything go with no bumps in the road? Well, no. But for us, it came down, literally, we did not make a decision whether we were going to go into one league or the AFL until literally the day of our press conference. We literally made that decision an hour before we did our press conference. It was the craziest thing I've ever been a part of, but it was so fun. We literally just thing, the AFL, pulled the curtain back, obviously, to show us what they had, and that would entice us to be a part of it. History plays some to do with it. You got to understand, Albany's an arena football town. They don't really know what indoor football is, and so we took that into consideration. So that was part of it. Just the history, just all the things. The 25th anniversary of the Firebirds winning the championship in the AFL, all those things played a part in it. And so we literally did not have a definitive answer until the morning of the press conference. The thing I like about what the AFL is doing is they're unapologetic about how they're doing things. And I love that, because I'm unapologetic the way I do things. And so when I talk to them, they see all the skepticism, they see all the crazy talk, and they're like, we're not rushing this. We're not going to do it because people are talking on Facebook. But you got to understand, I've always thought it weird is when people are on Facebook talking negatively about an organization, as if you're part of the meeting and you know what's going on. And I get it from a fan perspective. Indoor and arena football's been around a long time, and there's been things that have happened that have been poor. So I get some of the basic skepticism, but it's like, what really makes the league? It's the ownership of the teams. It's not, you can have poor leadership in a league and still have a great league because you have great owners and great football teams. And so just being a real common sense person, 1 + 1 = 2, I often read all these comments and I'm thinking, it's weird. But from talking to a lot of people, we're a threat. And so anytime there's a threat, you've got to say something to try to slow down some momentum. And I get that too. And so the naysayers that are out there that are pushing this agenda, there's a lot of agendas being pushed that, where do you get this from? So yes, we're going to pay a little bit more money. That makes us a threat on the most base level. You go to one league and make a couple hundred, you go to another league, there's a threat to that. But in bringing back a league that those initials have always meant the highest level of sport, yeah, it's a threat for a lot of people. And so is it going to start small and build itself up? Absolutely. There will be an announcement on November 16th that will clear up a lot of the stuff that people are worried about, what's going on and what's this and who are the teams. Everything will be announced by November 16th. And I can tell you, for us as an organization, for us to be in it, this is what bothers me when people are online talking to. And I had this conversation with an agent too that was telling players, negative things about the AFL. And I was like, you're talking bad about a place where kids can go build value. So to me, that defeats the purpose of you being an agent. You're trying to get your athlete and find a way to build value so some other level can see the value and take them up another notch. Okay, so we need every team around the country that you can get. Look at how many players come out of college every year. So first off, if you love football, if you're a part of any football business, you want all of these teams to survive and be positive. So that's number one, which always bothers me. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a lot of the ownership groups. So is there enough ownerships with that are successful people, successful teams, coaches, the whole nine? If you look down the list of just the ones that are out there, sure, you might be skeptical of a couple, but a bunch of those are very successful operations. So at the end of the day, is there going to be a season of kids? 1,000%. Is there going to be enough teams in it that are successful and that are going to do a great job of helping rebrand this new AFL? Absolutely. And at the end of the day, why do people think that these people that are investing millions of dollars in operations, why do they think they're stupid? I never get that. Like, so you mean all these people that are super successful people in their business world and have discretionary income that they're willing to throw $1 million or $1.5 million into a football team, you think that they actually can get duped by a league? It's just, I see that so much. This is the scam and this is the biggest. Now, has there been scam leagues out there? Absolutely. But if you look at the people from the top to the bottom, Lee Hutton, Travell Gaines, and look at a bunch of the ownerships, are these all people that are very successful in their business lives? 1,000%. How would you vote against a bunch of successful people in the same room? You think they can just tell us anything and we just, yes, okay, and we're duped? It blows me away. There is nothing being duped. It's all about the future. This is a business model that can be very successful. It's a first-year thing. Is there going to be bumps in the road? Probably so. But I can guarantee you we're going to play every single game. We're going to have a nice crowd, and we're going to compete for a championship. I can name 4 or 5 other teams that I totally believe in everything that they're doing. So that is what really it comes down to. And so I still don't understand the naysayers. I get it. We're a threat. I get it. It's new. And so, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a successful operation, whether people like it or not. And eventually, after November 16th, a lot of people will see some of the stuff that we know on the back end.
I'm very curious what's coming out on November 16th in particular. I know a lot of details from behind the scenes, and I've been a firm believer in the AFL for a while now. I'm not going to lie. I was in the group of people that were a little skeptical at first. I had my questions. As soon as I had the curtain peeled back for me, I understood why all these teams are jumping to this league, especially teams like an Albany. I mean, that ownership group has been around for years. I have the same thought process as you. To me, they've got so much experience and they know what they're doing. How can they be duped into doing anything that they don't believe in? And, as soon as Albany joined this league, in my mind, it became a lot more credible, much like when Billings joined, when Rapid City joined. A lot of these teams that are established, in my mind, make a lot of sense because these ownership groups know what they're doing. Is it a little bit of an adjustment from indoor to outdoor to arena rules? Absolutely. But running a team is running a team. And to me, there's all these questions that, in my mind, have already kind of been answered by the teams that you've got in the league. So I like everything you just said. I'm glad that you spoke very candidly about your feelings on that because, honestly, I've seen a lot and heard a lot of skepticism around this league. But I personally, I kind of went the other way with it as soon as I got to see some of the information. So I'm excited about the future of the AFL. I really think that it's got a bright future. And I'm excited to see all the rest of the teams coming because I know there's some very promising ones coming up here pretty quick as well. So I wanted to ask you, you recently signed a quarterback who, I got to be honest, I did not see landing in Albany, but ultimately you got Malik Henry. So I'm curious how that all came together for you.
So again, I've been watching Malik Henry for a while. I talked to him after the 21 season for the first time. Coming out of Frisco, he got some starts late in the season, did a very quality job. And again, his coach, his quarterback coach was Dan Radabaugh. And so for those of you that don't know Dan, he's been a phenomenal quarterback in the AFL for many years, one of the best. To hear that Dan had a very high opinion of Malik was a huge badge of honor. Now, everybody heard of, the whole Last Chance U and all that stuff. And, like anybody, when you have things in your life that aren't your shiningest of moments, that's not how you want to be defined. And so he came, into the league in 22 with Jacksonville. And so got in the league. It takes some time in this business. Arena football it's probably just a little bit easier to bring a rookie into the indoor league than it is in our league. And so it takes some time. So he had some growing pains, but he was still putting up some big numbers, still had some maturation to go through to get to that point. Ends up getting moved on to Jacksonville, ends up in Carolina, kind of had a role, played some games and had some good starts. Last year was when I see him from across the field, and when they came down and played in Orlando late in the season and we beat them. And the whole game I was watching him and just watching how mature he was going about the game, just his mannerisms, things that I watch that maybe other people don't. And so when I went to shake his hand after the game, I said, don't think people aren't noticing your maturity level. I said, you got a bright future ahead of you. And he was like, thank you, coach. And we shook hands and all that and walked away. When we went into the offseason, obviously, I had my board of quarterbacks. So I had my couple on my wish list. And so you got to go through the recruiting process. And so there's going to be issues of money or time or whatever. Some quarterbacks, well, I got this job. I can't come until this time. There's all these situations that happen. For me, I know there's been coaches in the past that would take a guy that will come in one day a week and play. I'm just not that guy. And so that was the hard part, was to go through all that with every quarterback, to talk to them about just, their philosophy on the game or how they approach the game. And so everybody in our town is, who's a quarterback? Who's a quarterback? It's just not that easy. It's not like you just snap your fingers and here's our quarterback and let's go. It's just not that easy. And so, but in looking at Malik's film this year, he put up some huge numbers. I mean, he had a 10 touchdown game. He had a couple 9 touchdown games. This kid put up some numbers. And so, but it wasn't the numbers. I was watching really a lot of his mannerisms, because they changed a lot from 21 to 22 and then into 23. You could see, I think it was the perfect time. He's super young. People don't realize how young this kid is. So if I have a chance to pick up a young guy, a guy that, now obviously I hope that he moves up to a higher level. If that happens, great. But if not, if there's a chance to keep a guy a year or two, then obviously those are the things that you want to take into consideration. So it was, get a vet that's been around longer, that maybe has less years ahead, or is it time to go after another young quarterback that maybe could have a future and be in Albany a couple of years? Ultimately, in going through the interview process with him, his films, and just knowing what I saw from across the field, I thought this was a perfect time for Malik Henry to come be a part of an organization that's going to expect so much out of him. And so we finally worked the deal out. It took many days. The kid is very smart, and I love it. Is some coaches would probably be frustrated, all the questions he asked and texted me this and texted, it was a long negotiation process. But I love that, because I want a cerebral guy. So in all the questions you're asking, I know you have a thought process. And so I would giggle every time. Oh, here comes another question. Here comes another question. Coach, what about this? What about this? I loved it, because I'm like, you're a thinker. And that's what I want for our quarterback. And so ultimately it took us a long time, but I think we've got the perfect guy to lead us into 2024. And I just can't wait to get started working with him.
I'm just being myself, cool as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me.
It's so easy.
got a little bit of an inside peek at Malik Henry this past season. We did a Carolina Cobras coaches show, and we had him on a couple times. And one of our guys got to fly out there and was at the game, and he said that Malik was at the arena ready to start practicing, doing pregame warm-ups like 6 hours before the game even started. And to me, that's just a sign of the player he is, how much he wants to improve, how much he wants to get better. So while I never expected him at Albany, as soon as he landed there, it made a lot of sense because he definitely is one of the best quarterbacks indoors right now. Quite honestly, it would not shock me at all to see him get a call from an XFL or USFL team prior to the 2024 season. I know that was a big reason. There was doubts that he would return to arena ball in 2024, but ultimately got him there. I think it's a big signing, and I'm really excited to see him play with Darius Prince.
That synergy is going to be great. And so funny, he texted me yesterday, hey, can I get Prince's number? I just love it. And I just giggled, and I called Prince, hey, Malik wants your number. I'm going to pass it on. And he was like, yep, let's do it. And so it's just those things that show the maturity of him and getting to know the guys that you're going to work with. And that's the guy you got to build your synergy with, because here's a guy that if you throw a ball to the spot, there's nobody better that's going to go get that ball for you. And so as they build their relationship, obviously Markel Wade and Darian Townsend and the group that we've got, it's going to be fun to see them build that relationship and grow that process. But again, we're different. If you watch our offense versus everyone else, we're very different. And so I came from the indoor side where you must be really creative and innovative to try to, you can see so many defenses. But when I came over to the arena side, there was so many parts of the game that I didn't see people do. And so like running the ball, not that there hasn't been teams that run and there's been some running backs to run for big yardage, but it's how they use it. It's short yardage, goal line situations. And I was like, why can't these guys run the ball consistently and do it as a weapon? And so, we've been number one in rushing the last 3 years. And so that is one of my favorite statistics opening up camp every year. It's even taken, a Hall of Fame quarterback like Tommy Grady, and people laughed and would tell him like, man, you've handed the ball off more with Coach Ware than you have in your whole career. And so, when you start off, it's let's zing the ball down the field. And then I was like, look, we can keep these defensive ends honest by running the football. After a couple of games again, and he learned, hey, you know what? This is smart. And we run the ball as a weapon. We really force people to defend all areas of the game. And so to have him come in, last year with Sam, obviously, there was some comfortability with being in a spread offense and being in shotgun. Arena guys hate shotgun for arena football. Why? It's within the rules. So we put in packages that were out of the shotgun. And again, we flourish with these things. And so you saw Sam running shotgun stuff in Jacksonville at the end of last year. So why can't we be innovative and do different things? We don't have to do the traditional stuff that started in 1986. We can be different. And so for us as a coaching staff, I want to be innovative. I want to pick every little rule apart and find different ways to have an offense. And so I think it'll be fun for Malik. Obviously, come in. We'll do some different things. We'll see if there's some comfortability in shotgun. We'll go through the whole gamut of things, and I think that'll be fun for him. It won't just be a very simple traditional arena offense. It'll be very different. And so I think the right time for us to come together is right now. And so I really look forward to getting started with this kid.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting run. And you don't have to answer this question, but I'm curious. Was Sam Castronova on that list as well?
Of course, after working with Sam and what he's achieved, which is a cool story. But again, even the story there's parts of that story that just still, it's hard to grasp for me mentally. We get a kid that's been cast out. We build him up. We spend all the time. There was a few times during the season where we thought about replacing Sam, but we stuck with it. We worked at it. We busted our butt to keep him. We win a championship with him. Obviously, he returns. He's a New York kid. And then pandemonium starts. And then he ends up somewhere else. And all these things happen. And now just the whole story of that is it's hard to even discuss it or hard to make sense of it, because that's really, it's just foreign in this game to have people could just come grab your quarterback at any time. And that's okay with the league. And all that stuff still frustrates me. Probably, as you can tell, it's hard to look at the 2023 season without me wanting to put an asterisk. In my mind, there has to be an asterisk on that season. It's just unfair that our team got dismantled. No one protected us, and we were dispersed all over the league, and we made a bunch of teams better. How does that happen in football? It just doesn't. And so, like I said, I have a whole lot of strong feelings about it, but I'm super excited for Sam. He's going to take a shot at the IFL. Very different game. I wish him all the best. Loved him. We talked before we announced, we had talked and about him returning and like I said, some things just work themselves out and that's the negotiating process. And everyone has a different one in their life on to what negotiations will lead. And so, like I said, I wish Sam nothing but the best. He's an awesome kid, a great man of character and faith. And so I wish him the best. And, you never know. In the future, we might cross paths again. But right now, the Albany Firebirds are all about Malik Henry.
Absolutely. I mean, how can you root against him when he's in another league and he's with Coach Manas on top of that? I mean, that's kind of awesome to see.
It's going to be interesting, like that. It's just going to be interesting. It's to change games. I think it's easier to go from the indoor league to the arena game than go from the arena game to the indoor game because it's much more complicated on rules. It's going to be interesting to see how that all works out. Like I said, I'm a fan of football in general, so I watch as many of those games from the other side as I can in my spare time. So I look forward to seeing how all that stuff plays out. There's a whole bunch of storylines that are going to happen this year that are going to be exciting to watch. So I'll be a fan of their game as well.
Absolutely. So I actually had a question from one of my co-hosts that they wanted to ask to you. Given that Albany was kind of desired by two of the top leagues in terms of the AFL and the IFL, what really led the team in general to choose the AFL, given the fact that they had basically their choice of the best leagues out there right now?
Like I said, we didn't make the decision until the morning of the press conference, and we were back and forth. And either way we went, we were going to be happy with it. It really was a toss-up. I mean, they're in a very stable place in the league, and obviously I've spent many years on that side, so I love that game as well. It's just different. But ultimately, a lot of it was history. Our town being an arena town, we had more of our fan base that wanted arena football than they wanted indoor football. Not that they were going to mind either way, but just in the feedback that I got from people all over town, it was just 25th anniversary. Orlando's in the AFL, us being, in the AFL now, that 25th anniversary, rebranding to a AFL team. Ultimately, it came down to history. And so we're an arena town and we wanted to stay in arena town.
That makes perfect sense. And speaking of being an arena town, you have kind of a unique advantage heading into 2024. If you look at a lot of these teams across the league, primarily they're coming from indoor football rule teams. But you coached in the National Arena League the past couple seasons, so you have a lot more experience building an Arena League roster with Ironman rules. So how crucial has this experience kind of been for you building your roster this season?
I mean, yeah, it is a huge advantage. I wouldn't even lie and say that it isn't. Our first year of Ironman was 2022, and trust me, you go through the growing pains of figuring it out. I mean, I think in 2022 we did a horrible job in that first game of rotating, and we lost our first game in 2022, and so it takes some time. And so there was a coaching staff from another team I actually did a Zoom call with yesterday and just kind of went over some stuff. I truly am about the best of the game, and so I had one of my coaches was like, why would you help them? Like, let them, truly, I don't want to win because I have an advantage. I want to win because everybody's at their best. I'm not the kind of coach that, we beat a team 80-0, that I'm real excited. At halftime, I would give my play sheet to one of my assistant coaches and let them call the game. That's not me. I want the best of the best of the best. I want to win games that there's some credit to be had. And so for me, it is an advantage. And for any coaching staff, literally, I'm not going to give you any major strategy or X's and O's, but if you wanted to call and do a Zoom call and me just kind of help you through the basics of the rotations and being in Ironman football, I'd absolutely spend time with any coaching staff that wanted to do that, because I want the best for our football league.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's something that you hear about at the NFL level quite a bit too. So it's kind of interesting to see that you're adapting that and kind of bringing it to the arena game. I like that a lot, especially considering, like we spoke about, a lot of these teams have no experience playing arena style football. So definitely probably welcomed advice, I imagine. So another question from one of my co-hosts: have you reached out to any recent NFL players that we could see in the AFL?
Not necessarily. It's a different animal. And so, of course, through the course of recruiting, we do talk to some NFL guys. You know, the negotiations of it, they're just a lot more difficult. When a guy comes from making the kind of money they made in the NFL, and then I've got to turn around and offer them what I can offer them, it's a complicated process. And so there's been a bunch of NFL guys that have come to the arena level and not had success. And so to me, if you're already in that circle, to me, and I'm the kind of person, I'm going to tell you the truth, even if it doesn't go my favor, at the end of the day, if you're on that cusp and you've been in camps and you're getting some love from somebody, might not be the smartest thing to go back to the arena level and then end up having some lack of success, and then it blows everything that you've got. For me, I look for players that are on that cusp of making that next step, so they can come into our league and build more value, and then they can try to move themselves up. And so it's a complicated thing in negotiations when you're talking about some guys from the higher levels, because you got to weigh out the pros and the cons of them participating on your team. What's the value they would build? What do they got to lose? And for me, if a guy asks me the pros and cons, I'm going to tell him the cons as well. And so it depends on every situation. But if a guy just had a cup of coffee in the camp and he's still trying to build value, of course, we gladly take those kind of guys, which we have some of those guys. We've signed a bunch of big school kids that are right on the cusp. And that's the thing is, ultimately for us as an organization, me as a coach, I can't wait to move up the next guy. And so that's what it's all about, is at the end of the day, when you get to see something that you had a part to play in and they move up, it is the greatest feeling. And I've been pretty blessed with helping a lot of kids move up. And so there's pros and cons to the NFL guys, but talent is talent. And if you can find a guy that's super talented, yeah, you try to bring him in.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your coaching staff real quick. Who have you brought in so far, and what led you to add these guys to your staff?
So Dwayne Hollis is going to be my defensive coordinator this year. Obviously played for us the last couple seasons. He's been a kid that's been a defensive player of the year in the AFL. This kid he's been a coach on the field. And so he's really been an extension of our coaching staff the last couple of years. He's been intricate in helping build some of the game plans. And so he was probably ready a couple of years ago, but he wanted to, he's still, and I've always told guys, if you're right on that cusp, if you can still do it, you might as well play, because there's a time where it's over. Before a game, I still sweat like I'm going to play. So you have all the feelings, but when it's over, it's over. I love going out on the field before the game and throwing and catching with my guys, and you'll never, leave that feeling. But ultimately, again, he's one of the smartest kids that I know. He's a film junkie like I am. He's super intelligent, and he's a teacher. And so for me, I have to have coaches on my staff that can teach. There's guys that are great schematic guys, and they got a good playbook, and here's the play. If you can't teach those, though, I can't work with you, because I invest a lot of time into every day. And so bringing him in, it is our job as coaches to help the next generation of coaches. He's going to be a phenomenal coach. And so I was really pleased with the opportunity to kind of help lead him into his coaching career. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously bringing in Brandon Cisse, another former player as well. He's been a part of every single championship that's won here over the last several years. Another kid that's got, he's coaching high school ball right now. He's had his little bit of taste of coaching some arena ball. But he's another kid that I can always, hey, come sit down in the office. Hey, this is some of the things I want you to talk about in your individual meetings with your coaches, and that'll take all that and go implement it. And so both of these kids were ready for the opportunity. Will it be a little different for me Being with younger coaches, absolutely. Had a real young coaching staff in 2019 when I was with the Nebraska Danger, and that was super fun for me of just kind of helping, guide some of these guys through some of the stuff. And so I look forward to that moment, and so I'm super excited about those guys joining. Had an O-line, D-line coach that had something come up and couldn't take it, so I'm in the process of hiring one more coach, and once he gets all this stuff taken care of, obviously I'll announce him as well.
Very nice, very nice. So as you know, I recently had one of your former players on, Sean Brown of the Pittsburgh Maulers now with the USFL. When I asked him about his time in the Arena Football League and the Indoor Football League, he specifically pointed to you as a coach that really changed the trajectory of his career. He literally went on to say that you were the one that taught him how to really look at the details, the finer points of his game, and really take himself to the next level. I'm kind of curious. I wanted to get your thoughts on what he said about you as a coach, and then also how you've developed this formula.
So Sean spent three years with me, and he's more like a son to me than anything. As he said, I didn't even know that interview was out there. And I stumbled upon it and watched it, and it's always great to see what people think about you later on in the course of their lives. And so he's like somebody we talk literally almost every single day. And so I've been through the highs and lows of his life from every single level. So being that's what this game is all about. It's really truly about taking these young men, building the value, and getting them to the higher level. And so that really, not that we're necessarily a feeder system, but that ultimately is our responsibility. And so I got Sean his rookie year. We made a trade and brought him in. And he was a rough and tough kid. He had all the ability, the toughness, the everything, and, had a mean streak. And so he was good for many personal fouls. And so at the end of the day, all those things we had to work on. And so for me, the process that I kind of build with these kids is you have film that's out there already. So you come out of a college, you have film that either scouts watched or didn't watch. And there's a film out there. So once you come into this level, first it's to embrace a little bit different game. It's to embrace that the coaching is going to be a little different. To embrace the mechanics will be a little bit different. So first you've got to embrace that process. The second step is building value. And so for me, what I do for a kid is, so like a Sean, let's take your film, okay, from Mississippi Valley. This is the film the scouts have seen. Okay, why are they not liking this film? So we go through every little detail. Oh, this is wrong. Oh, this is wrong. Oh, look at your feet. Oh, look at this. Look at your hand placement. Look at this. Okay, so that's on film. That's what they see. How do we take that stuff and turn it around so your dictates a different story? And so that's the process that I go through. And it's a little different. There's so many different stories within the course of the season. There's a difference between me coaching an older guy towards the end of his career and a younger guy. There's a different process. An older guy, he knows what to expect. It's more schematical. It's, again, pointing out the strength and weakness. It's the basics. But a younger kid that has an opportunity to move up, it's taking the film that someone doesn't like and making it a film that somebody likes. And so, with Sean, how many times I was going to bench him in 2017? I made him so hungry because you're complacent. Man, no, coach, I that. Look at the pancake. So what do we pay you for? And that's one thing about these kids that they don't like with me is there's guys that even in negotiations that, I caught a touchdown pass. Well, what do we pay you for? That's like hiring a janitor and he says, hey coach, I swept the bathroom. Well, what do we pay you for? There's a certain level of what you're paid to do, you must do, or you're fired. To go above and beyond, that's a different story. And so with him, it was getting him to stop trying to pat himself on the back Coach, I made this great pancake. Okay, great. The next play you got beat. So am I supposed to clap my hands for you, or do we have something to work on? And so that's what we did. We had to take your attitude. You're going to push and shove and throw people on the ground after plays. Can't do that. You're costing us 30 yards a game. That's almost a whole field. Can't do that. So we just took every little detail. How you step, where you step, hand placement, this, that. And ultimately, we built it over 3 years. Now, you got to understand, if you're not in the draft, you're not a preferred free agent. This road is hard. And so these kids sitting at home, I want to make it to the NFL. If you're not in the draft or a preferred free agent, this road is super, super difficult. And so that is the key to being my success of helping these kids is I will take your film, we'll break down every detail, and we will figure out how we can turn your weaknesses into strengths on film. It's not just behind closed doors. We got to show this on a game film that, hey, you have poor foot placement all through your film at Mississippi Valley. All right, this film, it's all great foot placement. That's what we do. And so it's a very daunting task, but that's why I tell these kids, if you don't have a coach that's trying to break down your film and break it down to a science like that, maybe you should find a different coach to play for, you know? So like I said, I tell people, I will guarantee you if you come, play for me in the Albany Firebirds, I will guarantee you I'll make you a better player. I will spend the time to go through every detail of your film and find every detail that I can find out about you on why the next level doesn't want you. And I will work my butt off to try to make those strengths. Now, is that going to happen for everybody? No. But there's been enough people that we've got that to happen. And so, but ultimately, again, you want your ex-players to be able to speak highly of you. That just means that you're doing the right things. And so when I saw that interview, not that I cried, but it's like, those are those like, oh, wow. You love to hear those kind of stories. And so, but I can't wait to see what he does for Pittsburgh this year. It should be fun to watch.
Absolutely. I'm super disappointed that he's not back with the Stars. I'm a huge Stars fan, as you can see over my shoulder here. But, I wish him nothing but success. Sean's been a lot of fun to watch for the last couple seasons. But moving on, we've talked a lot about winning because, frankly, you've done a lot of winning throughout your career. This might seem like kind of a basic question to those watching, but what does winning mean to you?
It's the only thing. Ultimately, like I tell my players, if we don't have fun doing this, it's not worth doing. I won't do anything in my life that I don't have fun. But I also tell them this: how do you spell fun? And it's W-I-N. And that's the thing is, it's how do you have fun losing? I am the worst loser. I am such a competitor. I don't care if I play Monopoly with my son. I do not like losing. And so I'm the type that I don't let my son, growing up, I'm not just going to let you beat me. I don't want you to feel that feeling without earning it. And so for him, I'm sure he probably, that's tough for him. But I'm going to play you the hardest and try to win in everything. And so it goes into my coaching style. I will be in the office at 5 a.m. I'll leave at 10 p.m. if that's what I have to do to get ready for a game. I will invest every drop of time I've got into the kids, into my coaching staff, into my organization. But ultimately, how could it be fun if you're not winning? And so to me, that is the only thing. It's everything. I would take half the pay if it meant I would win versus taking more pay to lose. Early in my career, I took some jobs for the money and losing, and I realized early in my life, nope, that's not it. So I literally, I just give it my all. Like I said, I'm one of those blue collar people. I just will outwork people. Whether I have the best system or the best coaching or whatever, I'll leave that to other people to decide. But at the end of the day, you have to outwork me. And I just don't think there's many people that will outwork me in a game week.
I would say the results are, out there and spoken for. So I would definitely agree on that. This is my final question for you today. It's fairly straightforward. You've won championships. You've built record-setting offenses. You've helped several players to the outdoor level. What's left that continues to keep you driving and working this hard on a daily basis for coaching?
This game keeps me young and healthy. You know, obviously you see some coaches out there that stress, wears them down and get some health problems. Truly, to wake up every day in the morning and be around some of these fiery kids and that attack the day every day, it just keeps me young. And so, first off, I love helping young men. And so that's my purpose. Obviously, I love winning as well. That'll never get old. But just being around the game, that's all I know. And so I just don't see any end of this. I honestly see me coaching another 10 or 15 years. And God willing that my health will stay the way it is now, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it until as long as I can. If I can do it at 80, I'll probably still be doing it at 80. So I just love the game. And so I love the competition. I love the game. I love the game within the game. I love the chess match. I love the game planning. I love being around my guys. I love training camp. There's just so many things that I love. I truly don't feel like I work a day in my life. I mean, and that's so important to me. Is I sick, tired, headache, whatever. I wake up happy to go to work every day. And so people just don't realize that's one thing of advice I give to people is I could make a lot more money in other avenues, but I'm super happy. So why? And that's the thing. Find something that you love to do it with all your might and see where it goes. And so I'm just going to keep doing this as long as I can.
I love that answer. And it's 100% true. Typically when you have a passion for what you're doing in life, it makes life a lot easier to enjoy. So definitely great advice from a great man. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. I really appreciate it. I know this has been a long time coming. I've kind of been bugging you off camera for a while to get you on here, but I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about the AFL specifically. I feel like one of the reasons we're trying to get all these coaches on is all this skepticism. It seems like it's from a lack of information. So I feel like if we can bring guys on and kind of talk about each individual team situation, it's going to make the whole league look a lot more real. So I really appreciate you lending us an hour of your time to come on and speak a little bit about Albany and what they're bringing to the AFL in 2024.
No, I appreciate you having me on. I love what you do. You do a lot of stuff for the game. And so we need all the publicity and attention that we can get. And I appreciate what you do. I'm so busy. I know there was many days I was trying to get on. I'm so busy between family, football, and everything else I have off the field. But no, I appreciate getting on, and hopefully we can get on this in the future and talk some more football.
Absolutely. And for the record, I never took it personally. I know you had a lot of other stuff on your plate, so that's why I kept circling back. I figured we'd get it done eventually. And thank you again so much for your time, and have a great rest of your day. And I'm excited to see what 2024 brings for you.
Awesome. You have a good day as well.
You as well.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.